know me and remember from my times before in the legislature, and even my first year in the legislature. I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and I was a crusader for justice. And I loved nothing better than getting a big protest sign and marching around the block a couple times. And over the years, I learned that I enjoyed doing that activity, but I never won anything. So when I ran for the legislature in 2004 and I won, I thought, damn, this feels good. Let's figure out some way to keep this happening. And during my first year in the legislature, I struggled. And those of you who were with me during that time remember that struggle. I spoke each day on the floor about truth and justice. I gave wonderful speeches excoriating the other side, talking about how bad they were. And then I would lose, overwhelmingly. Sometimes 59-1. It was pretty bad. And at the end of my first session, I realized that I had chosen a path that left me out. That while many of my colleagues were moving forward and making change, some of it good, some of it not so good, I was often sitting on the sidelines, complaining in a very articulate way. But still mostly just complaining about what was happening. And so between my first year and my second year in the legislature, I spent that summer deciding what I wanted to do. And I knew that if I wanted to stay in politics, I had to change something, because I just wasn't happy the way that it was. And so I made a change. I decided to start behaving in the legislature the way that I had always behaved as a social worker, which is what I did for 10 years before I was an elected official. And that was to figure out where the people I worked with were at, go to where they were at, and stand there with them, and find a new path together. So I went back to the legislature my second year, having evaluated myself, decided that I didn't like the way I was behaving, and decided to make friends. And boy, did I make some friends. Eddie Farnsworth became one of my very best friends in the state capitol. I know. Because he's a right-wing nutcase, right? But he's also really smart and really funny. And we agree on a lot of things. See, what I learned was that when I was able to put down my self-righteousness about being right, because I'm still right. But when I was able not to throw that in people's faces all the time, but instead to take the time to make friends and learn about what mattered to other people and then find ways for us to work together, I was able to get a lot more done. And over the successive years, I've been able to be a part of amazing coalitions. Arizona Together, another group I worked with, Protect Arizona's Freedom. Coalitions at the legislature to pass legislation to help stop the genocide in Darfur, to help protect breastfeeding moms so they could bear their breasts wherever they want. So over the course of the next several years, I really just learned how to change the way that I worked and to make friends with people who are different than myself, find ways to work together, and above all, to advance the agenda that I believe in, which is an agenda for social justice and for what I believe is right in the world. And so this little book is just my story of that learning experience. Some of the parts in there are, stories of how I failed. Actually, there's quite a few of those. I had a lot of failures. And some of the stories are ways that I learned how to do it differently and win. And some of the stories in this book are stories from other people around the country who had to learn the hard way on their own how to do coalitions in a way that worked for them.